Oh, hey there. Sorry about that. I was watching our new virtual reality experience, Water Always Wins. Intended for young drivers, this 5-minute video shows young people the dangers of driving through flooded roads. Welcome to the Flood Channel. I'm your host, Jessie Acuna. It might look like something out of the movies, but VR is a much more immersive experience. In fact, what's in front of you is only part of the story. This is a 360-degree ride that we're using in classrooms to educate young drivers about the dangers of flash floods. This is not science fiction. This is a fact of life for students today. So much time is spent on electronic devices. Often the best way to reach them is through the computer they hold in their hands. We're a desert. Why is it flooding?
Because it rains all at once.
Because it rains all at once? Okay, good. What else? So like when it rains here, it just pours down. Like a lot of rain really fast. Every 2 years, the district surveys residents about what they know about flash flooding. About 70% of residents tell us they turn around when they encounter a flooded road. But the statistics are very different for young drivers. What about kids your age? How many of them do you think drove through it? 100%. 100%. Possibly. Hopefully not. Do you guys want to guess? How many do you think actually drove through it?
Probably 80%.
You guys are close. It's 70, 67% roughly, or 60, around that. You actually drove through it. That means potentially either you guys or your peers saw a flooded street and were like, not a problem, drove right through it. Okay, we're gonna learn why we're not gonna do that. The VR experience is designed to change behavior of young drivers. Virtual reality gives the district the ability to show someone exactly what will happen if they take on Mother Nature.
It was very cool and it was very realistic, but it was also scary because seeing you in that position is really scary to see how the water rises so high and how fast and quickly something like that could happen, and it can be very dangerous. So it was very scary, yeah.
Teaching a teen to drive is a stressful process for everyone involved. There's so much to learn and practice, and rain rarely comes into those lessons.
Once it rains first 30 minutes, I tell them it's an ice skating rink. Slow down, take your foot off the gas pedal, drop the speed 5 to 10 miles an hour, and just continue on.
Safeway is the first private driving school to incorporate the VR experience into the classroom. Safeway President Clemos Kelly purchased Google Cardboard for his classes so students could view the experience in 3D directly through their phones. Mercedes Bryan is a 16-year-old Coral Academy of Science junior. She has a permit and attended Safeway over the summer to learn what she needed for her full license.
Animation, I could see how scary it could be in life, and there was this guy that was right next to you, and you could look over and see how his head was like underwater and how your head was underwater too. It would be scary to see your friend in that situation that you're driving around, because I'm really close with my friends and I'd blame myself for it, honestly, if I were to see my friend like that.
In the VR experience, you are the driver and your best friend is the passenger. Things go from great to worse very quickly.
That was pretty scary, seeing like the guy under the water. Like I looked to the right of me and I saw that he was like stuck under there. But then the people came in with the helicopter and they saved him.
Lloyd has been teaching driver's ed for more than 15 years. He knows his students are always on their phones and is glad he can provide something that will really hit home for them.
Did they like it? They'd like to see it incorporated. They didn't realize it gets that bad. A lot of kids don't watch the news. And that's the big thing I catch on the news. Being part of my job is to walk in the morning, ask them how it's gone. Did you see anything on the news? It was just on the news a couple of days ago about down in Arizona had the flash flood. So they just don't look at it. This is going to open their eyes. I get to teach any of the kids that are here in class, they're going to get the full focus of it.
Sierra Leone's mother is teaching her daughter to drive, but never thought about explaining flash flooding to her.
No, until I saw the video, here through the Regional Flood Control District. I hadn't given it much thought, to be honest with you. And then once I saw the video, I'm like, why hadn't I? Why hadn't I discussed this? Because it's a real issue. I do think it was very important because it was very realistic. Having that 360 view and feeling like you were actually in the driver's seat was very, very realistic. I actually brought my 12-year-old and my 11-year-old sons too, and they were really impacted. So they were really impacted too. They're like, oh my goodness. And so then they were giving the 16-year-old, my daughter, all lessons about what she shouldn't be doing when they're driving. So yeah, I think that the more students and the younger you get them, I think the more impactful the video is.
Sanchez's daughter has been driving for 6 months before she saw the video. Now she has a clearer focus.
From seeing that, you can tell that water always wins, and just seeing that, I wouldn't want to put myself in that position, in a dangerous position. So.
The district is working with local driving schools, the Clark County School District, and UNLV to share the experience. It's also available in 3D on our YouTube channel, where it's being viewed by people all over the world. We also share it with engineers to show them how important their work is. So with the VR, the reason we created it is to target young drivers, new drivers, basically drivers under 24. What we found out is 70% roughly of adults, if they approach a street that's flooded, they will turn around. Anybody want to guess how many 16 to 24-year-olds are going to drive right through it?
Most of them.
Yeah, it's about 60%. They're just going to drive right through it. So we realized we need to start targeting that demo and find some ways to get the messaging across it. Obviously, that's really dangerous and risky. Engineers like to get out of the office and see things hands-on. Technology is a great tool to keep the field evolving.
So like engineering field, we haven't really changed for 100 years. So it'd just be nice to kind of get out the message in a little different way, kind of how people are seeing it nowadays. So that's kind of what keeps my interest. Just like, oh, I didn't know it could be like that, or oh, I don't like all the water at my feet, I can't get out the door. And then the part where you kind of go underwater, I think that's also always powerful. Just seeing the feedback on the person, just the way they're moving their head around. And they kind of get quiet, like, oh, is this the end of my virtual character? But they know, hey, maybe I shouldn't turn around. Maybe I should turn around because water always wins.
The district is also sharing the experience with floodplain managers from around the region at conferences. If you know someone who'd like to see it, give us a call at 702-685-0000 or visit us on the web at floodvr.com.
What if I'm going against the flash flood and like me and my friends are like, oh, we can make it, and then we don't make it? That'd just be a very scary experience, especially if somebody in the car that you know and that's very close to you, just to see him like under the water drowning and like you're the reason why that's happening. Yeah, that'd be very scary.
I think it will always be with me, yeah. I think other people, I don't think a lot of people are more knowledgeable about it, and I think a lot of people should be, and I think it's a good thing that we did experience it today.
Want to take Mother Nature for a test drive? Our animators took real-life footage of what happens when water takes the wheel. Sure, they might have taken some creative license of what flooded roads look like, but the reality is the same. Water always wins.
Can't believe it's over, man. That was an epic road trip. But I gotta say, it's good to be back home. Well, this looks great. You see this? Man, where's all this water coming from? Oh, it's inches, man. A foot max. Looks pretty gnarly down there. Let's get back on the freeway and hit the next exit. Look, that guy's going for it. We got this. Come on, let's go. Yes, let's go, go, go. That was moving really fast, man. It's way high. Dude. get out of here right now. Look, we need to get on top of the car like that guy.
Hey, help!
We're gonna hit! We're gonna hit! Dude, where'd he go? Do you see him? Did he make it? Nothing's working. I don't know what else to do. Hey, look, there's people on the bridge. Hey, somebody help us, please. Hey, call for help. Right? Nothing's working. Man.
Hang on! We're gonna get you out of there! You're gonna be okay!
Lake Mead is full of life, a seemingly endless aquatic parade, attracting and sustaining busy desert creatures. It's one of the most diverse ecosystems in Nevada, with species found nowhere else on Earth. But every time soap suds run down your driveway, oil drips in the streets, fertilizer washes off your lawn, or random trash gets swept in our storm sewers, their home gets a little uglier. They get a little sicker. If we don't take simple steps to change our ways, soon you'll wonder where all our friends have gone. It's time to clean up our act, Southern Nevada. To get your home or business lake-friendly certified, visit belakefriendly.com.
Oh my God, this car's gonna hit us. Oh my God! Oh, we're floating! We're floating! We're floating! Oh my God!
Oh my God! 20 years ago, a vicious storm beat down on the valley. 2.5 inches of rain hit parts of Clark County. Sadly, 2 lives were lost. Homes and businesses were damaged. On this anniversary, the district held a press conference to look back on that day, as well as to see how far we've come. July 8th, 1999. It's the day Las Vegas saw one of its worst floods. Wide areas of the valley flooded, killing 2 people and damaging dozens of properties. At the Regional Flood Control District, it's known as the Big One.
But the other compelling factor about this particular storm was the nature of the thunderstorms moving from the west side of town to the east side of town, which is downhill. And so as water was running downhill towards Lake Mead, more rain was falling on top of that, creating an even larger flood wave. And so by the time the storm had ended, 2 people had lost their lives, and we had over $31 million in damage in today's dollars, which is a pretty impactful storm.
The 1990 flood is one longtime residents remember well. It led to a presidential disaster declaration. If you lived here then, you probably have a story about that day.
And actually, my grandmother, her trailer is actually there in the background at that Miracle Mile Park. You can actually see it in the background. And I remember going right after that 99 flood, going down there and looking at the damage, and it was incredible. You know, I was actually really surprised that my grandmother's trailer didn't get rolled down the wash with several others.
Reporters saw a slideshow of the 99 flood images and heard from firefighters who worked that day. Back then, the City of Las Vegas Fire Department had one team trained on swiftwater rescues. Now, each firefighter is equipped with that gear.
I really want to thank all the first responders at the county, at the city, Henderson, North Las Vegas Metro. All do a great job when storms like this 1999 flood hit. You know, it's their responsibility to go out there and rescue these people that get in harm's way. They do it without hesitation, and I really commend them for that and respect them for the job that they do. They put themselves in harm's way trying to make sure the community is safe.
Even 20 years later, the flood topped the local news, and it served as a great way to inform residents about changes made since 1999.
We've come a long way, but just in detention basins alone, over the next couple decades, we'll have to build close to 36 more detention basins, a couple hundred more miles of channel, and it's like a big puzzle. That puzzle is not complete yet. As the valley grows, so does our system. So we have at least 20 more years of investment. We've invested close to $2 billion. We'll probably match that number over the next 20 to 30 years, all for the protection of the community.
The National Weather Service recently spent $150 million to upgrade the radar in Las Vegas, giving forecasters both an earlier and a better look into thunderstorms. This can help improve forecasting accuracy and give the public better warnings.
Since this event in 1999, the National Weather Service Las Vegas has improved the accuracy of flash flood warnings by 45%, and we've increased the lead time of those warnings by over 20 minutes, which is actually pretty substantial when you consider it an average.
Since the press conference was used to kick off flash flood season, speakers gave practical advice.
The mission of the district is twofold, is to build the facilities to keep floodwaters away from people and property. And we've been very successful. There's no question, 100% of the time, if our facilities are in place, they work. The flip side of that coin is educating the public to keep the public away from floodwaters. And as Todd mentioned, we've seen some success in that outreach, that education. Fewer people are challenging floodwaters, especially those that are familiar in the valley, the dangers of floodwaters. But we also surveyed the millennials, and close to 60% still feel that they can challenge that floodwater, and that's something that we'll certainly work on. And that's what today's all about. It's that flip side of the district's mission, trying to get the education and the awareness out there into the community.
We need to focus particularly on children and teenagers. Talk to them before flooding happens. Tell them to stay out of washes, turn around, don't drown, and most of all, water always wins. We really need to get that message down to the children and the teenagers. Our messaging is working with adults, but parents need to talk to their kids. Stay out of those flood channels. Have that conversation before the rain starts in the summer, and have them make better decisions.
Oh my God, this car's gonna hit us. Oh my God! Oh, we're floating! We're floating! We're floating! Oh my God!
road. Flash flood season is here.
While the flood control network is better equipped to handle the storm than we were 20 years ago, there's still work to do. And Mother Nature recently showed up to show us one gap in the system. The last day of July started with a slight chance of rain in the mountains around the Las Vegas Valley. By early afternoon, an ominous shelf of clouds rolled in and began dropping intense rain in the desert hills above the mountain's edge community. In just 1 hour, the district rain gauge at the Upper Duck Creek Detention Basin picked up an inch of rain, but radar indicated 3 inches fell in the watershed draining into the basin. The good news is the basin worked exactly as intended. It rapidly filled up to 8.5 feet deep. But when the basin was built in 2005, the developer didn't extend a storm drain underground from the basin to an existing regional flood pipe downstream. As houses sprung up south of Fort Apache, a dirt berm was built parallel to the road to divert any runoff from the basin into the drain. But hours after the rain stopped this July 31st, neighbors saw water push against the berm and eventually break through. The entire subdivision south of Fort Apache flooded. Up to 2 feet of water ran through streets. The National Weather Service issued an aerial flood warning just before 11 p.m. since runoff was causing dangerous conditions. Once the sun rose the next morning, Clark County Public Works used bulldozers to divert water away from the neighborhood. Although the flooding left behind a mess and damaged some landscaping, no homes were damaged as a result. By early afternoon, the basin stopped draining and crews had rebuilt the berm. The district's master plan includes a storm drain underground from the basin into the existing regional facility, but that is yet to be designed. Right now, the district is meeting with the county and the developer to create a more resilient interim solution until the permanent underground facility can be built. Flash flood season runs through September. Keep up to date with us at regionalflood.org or follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all at Regional Flood.